ESPN's basketball coverage has taken a nosedive in recent years, swapping any semblance of credible analysis for clickbait content. Nothing highlights this better than the recent firing of Zach Lowe. If you're watching this video, you'll probably be familiar with Zach Lowe's work. For those who aren't, he's been the supreme basketball analyst for well over a decade. He popularized combining film with writing, and he inspired those like myself to make educational NBA content. Few writers are as detailed and committed to watching the games, and able to explain complex concepts in such a digestible manner for all of us. Lowe remains respected by front offices, players, and pretty much every media member. It's rare that you see people in tonal unison these days, but the unanimous disgust online in reaction to ESPN's decision to let him go shows how silly the idea was. If you don't have a spot for Zach Lowe, you're an unserious company. We all understand that profit comes first for any businesses. I'm sure First Take clips talking about LeBron's legacy, Bronny James, generate more engagement than Zach Lowe's 10 Things articles that are breaking down how Steven Adams scored touchscreens would create easy driving lanes for Ja Morant. It's not like ESPN's struggling for money though, and there's room for both educational and entertainment content. I'm not even here to bash their sensationalist shows, but the people who enjoy them. People shouldn't be judged on what they like or why. The fact there's different ways to enjoy the same sport is a positive thing. The reality is, most people just want to turn their brains off when they come home from work and mindlessly consume whatever it is that they enjoy. Sports are an escape from daily life. Not everyone's going to have the capacity or the desire to invest time to learning X's and O's breakdowns, and that's totally fine. It is a problem that most casual fans' primary source of NBA knowledge is coming from these shows though, and they just end up regurgitating the same nonsense that's spewed on them. I'd hope people learn to take these shows for what they are, understanding this isn't the analysis to form your opinions on. It's kind of silly that ESPN will portray Stephen A. and Kendrick Perkins as their NBA experts. Even with their goal being entertainment though, there's room for the debate show guys to play their roles while still being more insightful. It's far too often that we see blatant bullshit spewed, incorrect stats, or takes where it's abundantly clear they're not really following the team or the player or the sport closely enough to have any sort of valid critiques on them. I'm not saying you have to be a tactician or the next coach, but if you're considered an NBA analyst, you should have a baseline knowledge on every team's lineups, general strengths and weaknesses, and the league's rules. The sad thing is, for many of us growing up, ESPN was the place to go for all things sports. Watching them sell out to become clickbaiters is beyond frustrating, especially when they have all the resources in the world to post the highest quality product possible. They have the money, they have the brand prestige, and they've had some of the best talent in sports media walk through their doors. There's no reason for them to not be the pinnacle of sports coverage. There's no need for them to stoop to these lows. Personally, I do think the educational style of content brings more value to viewers and is better for the sport. It's not easy to learn the nuances, which is why most media don't bother doing it. Either way, national basketball coverage has to be better. ESPN's NBA Countdown has become downright shameful. The halftime show is 90% advertisements, with 30 seconds of fluff analysis sprinkled in, giving the crew no time to actually say anything of substance. Then we have Stephen A. basically read off the box score and say, X superstar for the losing team is shooting 2 for 10, he needs to step up in the second half. It's insight that anyone could have added. The pregame show is rarely ever about the actual game on hand, with the top picks somehow always leading back to what star could possibly request out next. It'll be a Bucks 76ers matchup, and they'll be discussing if Wemby should leave San Antonio, or just some nonsense about one of the big market teams. Actual basketball discussion about what is presently taking place on the court is apparently too much to ask for. There's no reason ESPN couldn't create an NFL Live equivalent for the NBA, using Zach Lowe, Tim Legler, and recent players like Richard Jefferson that they have on board. Why not actually let those players showcase their unique expertise and their NBA experience, instead of just plugging them into this hot take machine role and wasting their knowledge? And even if the audience for an educational show like that isn't as expansive as a First Take, I'm sure viewership would still be meaningful enough for them to pursue that. ESPN operates the way they do for a reason. We know drama sells, and will likely always be the most profitable, but there's room for substance too. It's hard to just write off informative content when it's not given much of a chance. How can you say for certain that viewers don't want it when the nonsense is the only thing that's ever being shoved down their throat? This approach of maximizing profits at all costs might benefit their margins in the short term, but the long-term damage of viewers and media losing respect for your coverage will lead to an eventual fall-off. It's somewhat similar to why a group like Wu-Tang has a lasting legacy for decades, versus rappers like the Little Pumps of the world who have their 15 minutes of fame before falling off a cliff. I just hate the way ESPN treats viewers as if they're stupid. Letting Zach Lowe go is just a slap in the face to all of us NBA fans. It gets even weirder considering they just paid billions of dollars to retain their TV deal with the NBA. Why not keep your top analyst on board for top of that? It's an unfortunate cycle we live in. When a foolish take surfaces online or on Twitter, we all express our frustration with it, but that reaction is exactly what they want. In ESPN's view, any clout is good clout. Everyone engaging in these clips just promotes it in the algorithms even more and generates more clicks, rewarding their behavior even if that's not our intention. That's a flaw of social media algorithms. Tons of people sharing a post to their group chat, talking about how stupid it is, suggests to the app that this is good quality content that people want to see more of. The algorithm doesn't understand that these people are actually frowning upon it. Engagement does not equal enjoyment. This just preys on our worst habits. It's natural for humans to feel the urge to respond to utter nonsense, but this just rewards people who rage bait, and it punishes those who create level-headed, quality, real content. Now, this conversation probably extends beyond NBA media and just into social media and society in general. But anyways, the good thing about social media is that people now have options. There's plenty of great NBA podcasts, YouTube channels, writers, and content creators on all platforms to learn from. Plenty of people are already turning away from ESPN's NBA coverage and turning into these individual creators, and I'm sure that trend is only going to continue with the direction things are headed.